Hello, hello, everyone. We are so excited for everyone that is tuning in for our 1.5 Academy info session. It is December 7th at the moment, but this is something we're excited to launch for our next cohort coming up in March 2024. So if you are new to 1.5, we are a climate advisory and training company, and we're very excited to share more about our 1.5 Academy, which is a 6-week sustainability consulting accelerator. And we're here to answer hopefully many different questions, but excitingly to share some real great updates that we have and our growing community to date, since we announced in New York Climate Week that 1.5 will be championing to train and activate 100,000 sustainability professionals for 2030. With me, I've got Julia and Denise, but we'll get to that shortly. So we might as well get started. And as people roll in, we can definitely keep the chat active. So if you want to have any questions, please on the LinkedIn, just add your comments. We'll see it pop up, and definitely interact and share this afterwards as you'll get the recording. Great. So today we'll go through 6 different areas, as you can see here: intros, the origins, the curriculum, the programming, and then hear from one of our graduates, Shannon, who's behind stage, to hear about her experiences, and then finally any questions and answers that you have. So firstly, as a welcome and introduction, I just wanted to welcome you to our team. I am the CEO and founder of 1.5, and I'm extremely passionate to see people's gifts used to their fullest potential and for the greatest good. And I feel like there's a huge pain point in sustainability professionals to have a safe space to not only learn the latest skill sets, but also to network and help opportunities drive forward to help decarbonize our world. We also have Matthias, who's our founding partner, who's not here. Julia and Denise are here, so perhaps I'll let Julia kind of introduce herself and Denise.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Akker. I'm an associate director at 1.5. Been here for about 2 years now, and I'm also one of the instructors for the 1.5 Academy, specifically focusing on GHG accounting as well as the wide world of standards, frameworks, and regulations that are out there. And I'm super excited to be sharing with you all today. Denise?
Hi, everyone. I'm Denise. I help run a programming community here at the 1.5 Academy. You'll likely interact with me while you are applying and especially onboarding to the 1.5 Academy program. So excited to dive in.
Great, thank you both. And as you see here, we also have a full-fledged team, including Abby, Jack, and Shuo, who make everything work, including everyone else. And I think the main thing to take here from the team is that we ourselves are industry first, meaning that I think a lot of the academy is not meant to be just pure institutional academia, but really practical in the sense of what's needed in the sustainability consulting and professional space. So you are in very safe hands amongst our team. Couple of things just to note straight off the cuff is that our applications are accepting on a rolling basis. For those already familiar, I would really recommend people apply as soon as possible. We have different tiers and cutoffs for early birds, and you can save $400 off the next tier cutoff. And we also have limited spots. We are getting a lot of demand for the academy, and we're making sure that we select very high quality applicants. And the earlier that you get it, just like with any kind of application process, the more chance you are likely to get through the process in time. We also have some limited needs-based scholarships, so please don't let finances be a limit to applying. But I must say that we do have limited needs-based scholarships, so please apply earlier, especially if you think you'll be eligible for that. And finally, just for people to keep the key dates, so save the date, Cohort 4 will be occurring on a week 0 onboarding in February 26th, but official programming will start on March 4th. So put it into your calendars, keep it in mind, schedule it ahead of time, get permissions from any institution that you need to be able to participate. But hopefully we share more and make it interesting for you. So let's talk about the origins. Like, why does the academy exist in the first place? Well, don't have to tell you, but we've actually gone over 1.5 degrees Celsius just in the last weekend, which is absolutely horrible, but we are experiencing climate change in the worst time possible, and we need to act today. We know that from a global standpoint, the net zero standards have blown up. And so here are some statistics just to sort of show that almost 200 parties represented here have net zero commitments at the global level, and they're only increasing. So if you think about it from a global scale, there is more commitments and therefore more work required from a global and country scale. If we also look at that from a company level, we've seen an absolute explosion of the number of science-based targets, meaning people who want to align with the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway to commit to net zero, which has increased from basically 9 to 5,000 over companies just in the science-based targets alone, as well as in the UN Global Compact, CDP, and even SME Climate Hub, where tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of companies now are committing to net zero and therefore need sustainability professionals and consultants just like yourselves to work in it. And we've seen this in the job field, right? In the last 5 years alone, sustainability managers have been the fastest growing green job globally. That's absolutely crazy compared to even renewable energy. And so there is a lot of job demand, and we're even seeing that this year and even into the new year, despite the economic conditions, because of the amount of money being put into sustainability and climate, regulations that are starting to come up, and also the fact that sustainability and climate are now tied to good business practices. Like, it is inevitable that we need people to lead sustainability. And if you look at it from a statistics standpoint, there's a 2023 Green Skills Report from LinkedIn that actually found 3 key reasons why you should upskill in this space, whether through us or generally. The first thing is that there is a green skills gap, which is widening by 2x, meaning there are more job postings out there that require one green skill than the talent that actually have the green skills themselves. There's an irony behind it, but when we launch internships in the summer to all these positions and roles, they're oversubscribed with people wanting to get the experience, but doing a job or an internship is not the only way that you can upskill to further your career. The second thing is that we found green hiring has been resilient in 2023, despite a slowing down of hiring, at least in some areas because of macroeconomic trends. Green jobs are still kind of increasing. And then finally, if you actually have a green skill, like actually learned, and hopefully we can show you some of that today, you actually have a 29% higher hiring rate for those with green skills. And we've seen that, and I'll share some success stories from Academy members who graduated and were able to either get promoted, get those new roles, new jobs, and new gigs. So I think this is a space that we should take seriously. And in terms of doing sustainability work, part of the problem is that it requires a lot of different skill sets. And so if you look at just the top 5 skill sets alone here on the data collection to the business intelligence front, it's almost a mix of qualitative and quantitative skills, technical and business change management and strategy work, that maybe not one person has all of it. I know for a fact, as a mechatronic robotics engineer, I had a lot of learning to do when it came to client management, stakeholder management that I didn't learn in my course. And so therefore, this shows 2 things, right? One, this field has blown up just in the last few years, but requires us to actually start to fill those skill set gaps that we have, which we generally should have from these, and or the fact that we need to work together as teams, which is also an added benefit of the required multidisciplinary skill sets that we need to solve the climate crisis. So again, you don't have to be an expert at everything, but we need to have the network and the community to actually do this work. These are some statistics, and this is going further, which I think is kind of crazy, but what has been found through the Green Skills Report in 2022 was more than 2/3 of sustainability leaders are actually hired internally within organizations. Isn't that crazy? Meaning that they're kind of laterally moving into those roles, and less than half of them actually have any sustainability degree or background. And so this field is not just for those that are trying to enter into this field, whether at a graduate level or a mid-career level, but this is actually just as important for the CSOs of the world, who we've even found have been taking the academy itself to get upskilled, and therefore it's that connective tissue that we need from leadership all the way down to those that are working in the junior levels of sustainability. So you are not alone, even if you are an executive, that there still is a lot to learn. And so therefore, we're seeing a lot of people move into the sustainability manager role from many different areas. So it shouldn't surprise you that sustainability, environmental-led type people are moving into the sustainability role, but you can sort of see how they're coming from different technical to business-related roles. But you also see people coming in purely from an operations role. And therefore, that's what it's showing, that there's no one cookie-cut way to become a sustainability manager. But as you can imagine, there are severe gaps in terms of what good looks like that even these folk need to fill. And if you look at what a day in the life of a sustainability professional is, there's actually a clear mix between strategy, implementation, and enablement. And in fact, 70% of the time is used for implementation enablement. If you look at some of the biggest elements of what we need to learn, sometimes it sits within the change management and the data measurement side, which some people are like, I would like to do the strategy, but a lot of it's within actually getting that work done. And if you just look at these top requirements on a day-to-day basis, they require a huge level of skill sets that aren't necessarily attainable out there just in the general public. And so therefore, it's just important to know that we are always constantly trying to get better, even internally at 1.5, to deliver on net zero using all the things that we need every single day, which cuts across science, business, technology, and policy. And the good thing, though, is that professional spending is actually increasing, if not has been quite prominent. And so just a couple of examples, and this is from an EUI report, showing that there is spend to get help on energy transition planning, to TCFD climate risk because of regulations, but a host of different things. And so there is spend happening here, and companies are needing support, not only internally, but externally from a consulting standpoint. So this should be an exciting space to know that there is work out there. And you can see it like a per company average, and this is definitely for larger companies out there, but companies are willing to and are starting to invest more into things like GHG accounting, climate risk analysis, internal climate risk management, and there's a lot of reporting and disclosures even required from investors. So this space does have opportunity. It's not just about doing good, but it's doing good and doing well. And I think you're seeing more and more this intersection of like business and environment becoming more intertwined, that honestly in the future, we may not have CSOs, but CFOs, CEOs, COOs, heads of departments all have sustainability skill sets integrated in part of their work, because climate becomes such an important integrated need within every role in the organization. So this should excite you. But here are the problems, right? You say every job is a climate job, or every job is a sustainability manager role, but how do I get it? And we actually looked at all the job descriptions out there for all these senior roles to junior roles within corporate sustainability, and they would list a lot of requirements. And some of these here that I've listed on the left are ones that I used to see and go, gosh, like, how do I even learn this stuff, right? GHG accounting, life cycle assessments, like certifications and standards, carbon calculations, right? It's just a lot of real technical skill sets that, you know, unless you're already in it, like, where do you get it? And I myself also did a master's program in environment and really didn't get some of these practical industry knowledge, because this field has literally blown up just in the last 10 years. And the standards, even for GHG accounting, just changed for scope 3 emissions this coming month and this coming year. So things are just changing faster than things people can catch up. And so the problem is that if you're saying, I'm not getting these jobs, I'm looking for internships, just ways to get experience, you're not alone, right? Organizations tend to hire from the same talent pool, which we already know is very limited. And also university institutions are a bit too academic or behind the curve when it comes to knowing what you need in your industry to do the work. And then online content is just way too broad, right? You could read a 250-page standards document for the GHG protocol, but how do you actually practically navigate and apply that in real projects? Which is why there's an advantage that 1.5 does consulting work, because a lot of our case studies and work helps to define, okay, what does this actually mean in a real project? And so therefore, a lot of you folk, I guess, or folk that are looking to even extend their careers within the sustainability field, are generally either left out of the market or don't have a place and space to safely learn and upskill themselves to progress their careers. And so the implications right now is that, you know, we are a severe risk. You know, we've already been over 1.5 degrees Celsius. And right now, even with COP in Dubai, like, there's a lot that we need to do to actually champion this. And so this is kind of the work that we end up doing through the 1.5 pathway. And we have built the sustainability accelerator that we initially provided to our customers and clients. They've actually now become an extreme framework that we actually use to teach the academy. And so in some senses, this is what it is. We call it the 1.5 pathway, which is your 5-step journey to decouple emissions from sustainable growth. And it became something that we have built our full curriculum off based on what roles need to upskill. And therefore, we'll kind of be sharing this more. And this is kind of our hope that, you know, we have a project team that can work on work. We love the idea of activating our graduate fellows, whether it be working on projects with us or cross-learning, sharing opportunities with one another. So this is much bigger than just like training and upskilling. It's the activation piece. And whether it's 1.5 that helps to house some of our experts who are now working projects with us, or the community itself supporting a trained sustainability professional network, this is what is at the heart of what we're trying to build. And that's why, we announced our commitment from a mission standpoint to train and activate 100,000 sustainability professionals for 2030, hashtag OPF100K, because we really need to fill that gap. And I hope that you all are part of that movement and you believe in what we're trying to build, because I think it's extremely important that we become more collaborative than competitive, especially in a sustainability consulting world that is, in a sense, should be sharing information, not withholding information. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose of why we exist in the first place. So that's why we do what we do. And so from that sense, we have done a lot of work in building these training curriculums, but we'll share you more as we go forward. So now I'll pass it on to Julia to sort of talk about our OPF Academy curriculum and skill set training.
Great, thanks, Neil. If you want to go to the next slide. So our 1.5 Academy members, now that we've had 3 cohorts of the Academy, we have a pretty good sense of who this program is really well suited for. I would say overall, OPFA members are definitely passionate about tackling impactful and complex climate challenges. And we tend to see people who are in early to mid-career, but we've also seen kind of the tail ends of both of those. And primarily falling into 3 categories. So we have current or transitioning sustainability consultants. So these are people who are currently in a role or perhaps looking to find a role in sustainability consulting who need to level up on their practical skills. And also these individuals really appreciate learning about our own tips and tricks for how we manage and how we run climate consulting projects. We also have climate curious business professionals or technical environmentalists. So these are early to mid-career professionals who may have functional expertise or experience in other roles such as product management, project management, marketing, etc. But they really want to level up that specific corporate sustainability knowledge and figure out how they can use their prior experience to really progress in this field. We also have those who have backgrounds in science and engineering and academia, like Neil, who want to gain practical experience and figure out how can they translate their scientific knowledge and their wealth of expertise into impact today. And last, we have current or transitioning in-house sustainability employees. So you heard from Neil how sustainability employees often lack the right skills that they need to actually excel at their roles, and they grapple with the changing needs, the constantly moving requirements that are in place for corporate sustainability. And so taking this course is a really great way to accelerate that on-the-job learning and development and onboarding. And we've even seen this work really well with individuals who have training budgets that can go towards this to really help improve their learning. Now, as Neil introduced earlier, we also have identified the key skills that employers are looking for when they're hiring for these roles, whether it be junior roles or senior roles, and you'll see those on the left-hand side. And so what we did is when we were designing the 1.5 Academy curriculum, we looked at what are these skills. We also looked at what did we as sustainability consultants do day-to-day on the job and with our customers. What were they really looking for, and what was the expertise that they felt they were lacking in their own roles? And so that is how we developed the curriculum, and we made sure to touch on all these important components so that people really felt like they were getting a well-rounded experience at the end of it. And so as a result, we have this 6-week-long curriculum of content plus 1 week of onboarding that follows that sustainability journey that Neil walked through earlier, the 1.5 pathway. And it's tackling the key skills that sustainability professionals and consultants need to know to be able to help customers or perhaps their own internal company through this sustainability journey. So starting in week 1, we cover climate strategy, net zero, and goal setting. Then in weeks 2 and 3, we really dive into the measurement and analysis portion where we go through greenhouse gas accounting as well as life cycle analysis and assessment. Then in week 4, we tackle the thorny alphabet soup of reporting frameworks, standards, and regulations, which is ever changing. And then in week 5, we really set our path forward looking at decarbonization and climate investment principles. Last but not least, in week 6, this is a little something different and very unique to our 1.5 Academy, which is a Sustainability Professionals 101 course. What are the skills that you need to actually execute on climate projects? What are the things that we do day to day to make sure that we are able to complete our work in a timely manner and efficiently as well? So I'll dive into each one of these weeks in the subsequent slides. So starting in week 1, we'll dive into the concept of net zero, how sustainability came to be, and what are the different types of sustainability goals. We'll set the stage with the various types of goals, net zero strategy, climate transition plans, as well as key issues like greenhouse gas potency and climate justice. We'll also dive deeper into the key skills that are required for sustainability professionals and consultants to really excel and succeed. Next, in week 2, thank you, Neil. We'll dive into the world of greenhouse gas accounting. So after this week, OPFA members will really come away understanding the key components of scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, how to actually calculate these for a given company, how to identify what are the most material categories for given industries, and of course, understanding the limitations of greenhouse gas accounting. Then in week 3, we'll be focusing on product level emissions specifically. We'll of course touch on how they differ from enterprise level emissions. And this week is when we dive into life cycle analysis, the various environmental impact categories that are assessed, and we'll dive into real life examples of how you can change product design to be able to result in a lower carbon footprint. Then in week 4, we cover the various sustainability frameworks, standards, and reporting disclosures out there, touching on the latest developments and any future trends that we see around the global regulatory landscape. We cover physical and transition climate risks, how you can identify these for a given organization, and how you can utilize the frameworks and standards to really build a comprehensive disclosure strategy and actually integrate it into the business rather than it be a check the box exercise. Week 5 is an exciting one. Here we dive into the carbon markets value chain, including current and future trends. We discuss the requirements in order to design and build a financial environmental model, which is critical to be able to measure your return on investment and impact. We learn a little bit about carbon costing, internal carbon taxes, the internal cost of carbon, and marginal abatement cost curves. And finally, we cover the key principles that you need to consider when investing into decarbonization solutions. Our 6th and final week focuses on corporate sustainability, the trends, the career pathways, and the skill sets that you really need to thrive, either working in-house for a company or as a consultant. We cover the best practice frameworks and tools that are used by sustainability professionals and how to structure an end-to-end project and how to take your next steps after the 1.5 Academy. And of course, this is a very quick sneak peek, but all of this content is available on our website so you can dive in deeper. Now I will pass the baton to Denise, who is going to walk us through programming and community.
Thank you, Julia. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to share them below in the chat. We are leaving some time at the end to help answer your questions. But next slide. So really excited to share that our 1.5 Academy community has over 350 members. We've currently graduated 2 cohorts of the Academy, and we're about to graduate our next cohort of the 1.5 Academy next week. Within this community, we have over 35 countries represented, which has led to a ton of brilliant and insightful and diverse range of conversations and discussions we've been able to have. And over 100% of our cohort members have reported that they feel more confident in their sustainability consulting skills after graduating. As you can see, we have pictured our last 2 graduation ceremonies with some really great, fantastic speakers we were able to bring in. And next week, we're excited that Daniel Hill from the Environmental Defense Fund will be joining our Cohort 3 graduates. And he is also a part of the Open Door Climate Movement, if you've maybe even participated in it as well. But excited for this continuing growing community. And so just to give you an example of what your week can look like as a member of the 1.5 Academy, so you'll tune in on Mondays to our curriculum session. This is led by our expert instructors, either Neil, Matthias, or Julia, and it's really where we dive into the content of that week. We also couple this with some async content, such as pre-read materials or async Loom content, so you can really supplement your learnings. We then follow up with that session by the real magic that happens during our Wednesday sessions. These are our interactive labs where you will take all the material that you learned on Monday and really apply them into real life case study situations. We built these internally based on our own experiences as consultants, and it's fun. You work interactively with your other cohort members to dive through a series of situations, or you build your own models to kind of give your own suggestions within these case studies. So they're epic sessions, and we are excited to maybe explore them with you all. And then on Fridays, we have our expert speakers. These are industry experts that relate to the week topic that we explore. And we also couple these with networking sessions. These are sessions with our 1.5 Academy community members, so you can work on networking, sharing more about your experiences. We also have study hall sessions as well, where you can work with your other cohort members to dive deeper into the content and explore the themes. So these sessions are all recorded. If you are balancing maybe either another job, or you live in a time zone where it's difficult to maybe always tune in live, we always share the resources and the recording so you can participate asynchronously as well. And the last thing that you can also opt into, if you want to go back a slide, are our small groups. The small groups are an opportunity for you to opt into at the beginning of the program. And we will build these groups based on time availability and interests. And this is an extra opportunity for you to meet with a smaller group of people within the cohort to either dive into the course material or maybe even redo some of your lab works together. Optional if you want to opt into them, but it's another great asset you can add to your programming experience. And so what you can expect as an 1.5 Academy member are a different range of kind of activations that we suggest for you all. And I'll pass it on to Neil on our further slides to kind of talk a little bit more in detail about each of these. But in general, you'll walk in with these hands-on project experiences. Again, we want you all to walk away with kind of an example or a case study of where you can really showcase your knowledge that you've learned throughout each week's lessons. We'll also share you a credential through Credverse. This provides you with a LinkedIn course ID, so you can share these on your LinkedIn, also with employers included on your resume. We also have continued access to all our course materials. So even after the program ends, you can go back to the materials, refresh them, or even go back to reference for your current work. Throughout the program and also beyond, you also have access to our in-person regional events. These are led by our local hub leaders, and so you can continue to interact and kind of deepen your relationships in real life with various folk. And then lastly, you'll continue through our circle and activation platform. We have a ton of great spaces where people share their learnings, ask questions about maybe what they are struggling with in their work or what they want to learn more about. And it's a great way to continue to engage and learn more about the current industry happenings. And lastly, you'll continue to get invitations to all our upcoming speaker sessions and even community events. But I'll pass it on to Neil to talk more in depth about more of these details.
Thank you so much, Denise. And to dive deeper, I think I want to hop on to this idea of labs on that Wednesday. It's so important. Like, academia is academia, but when you actually grapple with and work on things, that's where the magic is. And we've been able to secure at least a partnership with the Change Climate Project, or formerly known as Climate Neutral, who has a BEE, or Business Emissions Evaluator tool. We have actually set up a proprietary type of partnership with them to get access to a license for all our Academy members to do Scope 1, 2, 3. I can't harp on about how exciting that is and the partnership we have with this nonprofit, because it allows you to actually do Scope 1, 2, 3 on a physical platform, not just in a manual way. So that's really exciting. And in our week 2 lab, we also utilize for life cycle assessment in our week 3 lab, the product level carbon calculator produced and developed by Duconomy, and kind of share some of the concepts of learning about how to get to a product level carbon calculator. So these tools are extremely helpful alongside the G Suite and Miro that we use to make this really practical for you so that you can actually use these tools going forward. We also have this great training and engagement and activation platform for all fellows, and you'll have access. So if you get a a spot as a fellow for our upcoming cohort, you'll get a login to this platform. And I can't tell you how exciting this is. I can imagine like a Notion plus Slack, but it also has an app, and it allows you to basically ping and message our entire community, which is already over 350, to get all your training materials in one place. And as we add more functions on next year that we're planning, you can basically start to hopefully work on additional projects or share different opportunities with the team. And I think that's where I'm really excited about this platform itself that we've been able to white label through Circle to make this happen. You'll also have access to this growing database of recorded events, both past, present, and upcoming. All our fellows, even as they graduate, are invited to future events that we run, including those speakers that we've had from, you can see it yourself, just a handful of the companies that we've had come and speak with us are recorded and kept within our platform, as well as kind of brought forward as we go. So we are growing in these great leading companies within sustainability, both from the private and public standpoint. And as Denise mentioned, we have these local hub leaders, which we just announced, and it means that you can connect with over 10 local hub representatives, which I believe will grow as our countries grow, for you to be able to have in-person events and meetups, and even working on volunteer or community-led projects. And that also includes very much community-led types of speaker events that we've been helping to host, but the community itself has brought up, which can be anything from a mid-career panel to further study groups, further deep dives within topics of expertise. We just think that there's a huge amount of potential with the community leading itself that will help you to really champion your career and make it feel less lonely. And if all else fails, we've seen graduates get new jobs, new roles, new gigs. I think it's just fantastic that I think this has been a catalyst. So shout out to a couple of our members, and we're even having a couple more where the academy itself was just that final touch point that they needed to either tell their boss in their current sustainability roles or entering into sustainability roles that, yes, I have done GHG accounting, or yes, I am familiar with TCFD, SASB, or yes, I know how to submit a science-based target. So there's a lot here that I think is sometimes underrepresented to what is the potential of getting a skill set training to the outcomes that you'll create. And we'll be building more partnerships hopefully in the near future to even enhance that further with graduate perks that we're working on for other climate community access to tools, to even opportunities on projects and hiring, which would be great to even enhance your outcomes itself. So rather than hear it from me, why don't we hear from an OPF Academy graduate? So I'd love to invite our very own Shannon, who works in sustainability herself, which I think is a great use case here, to talk about her experiences during the cohort.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to share my experiences today. I have people ask me all the time what training was most valuable in my own transition to sustainability management, and this is my #1 pick. I have an engineering background and about 15 years of professional experience in the renewable energy space, but last December, I was laid off due to industry challenges and really set my sights on pivoting into sustainability management. And it was a really tough transition for me for many of the reasons that Neil just shared. And I was trying to understand the space as well as where my skill sets could really fit in to the space together. And I was lucky enough to find this program on LinkedIn, and so glad I was able to participate.
Amazing. And I guess, Shannon, just to get another thought on this, I guess what advice would you give to someone considering to participate in the academy?
I think one of the things that I really did was do every session, listen to every recording, read everything, and try as best as I could within the constraints of my own time management to get as much of the knowledge that I could as possible. I think this is a really incredible opportunity to gain a baseline understanding of the space and the processes and the best practices that someone would follow to do with sustainability management successfully. And I wouldn't consider myself an expert after going through it, but I did gain that familiarity of the process, the tools, and the language, as well as the resources and the network to reach out when questions came up. So I used the circle tool and a lot of the network to answer a lot of my own personal questions that were unclear after going through the training, or even those that I encountered in my own learning or on the job. And that was incredibly valuable.
Yeah, amazing. And I guess you talked about why you joined in the first place, but how did the academy contribute to your like understanding or skill set development in the corporate sustainability space?
I think one of the biggest things that helped me in really my understanding of the space was tangible experience executing on some of these tasks like greenhouse gas accounting and LCA. I think I'll be honest, I canvassed the space for training, and there's a lot of information out there, but none of it is packaged so comprehensively as 1.5's Academy is, and none of them contain real actionable tasks and labs that you can do and then get that feedback on, I don't understand that, or why did you do it like that? That just really helped hone in my understanding of how these are executed. And ultimately, like Neil mentioned, it was a tipping point, I believe, in my ability to say that I had experience in these fields in order to get an interview that then turned into my first sustainability management job.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think just that last nuance of just being able to say you've done it and have confidence that you know it, I think we've heard that from multiple Academy fellow graduates that was kind of the tipping point. So I'm glad that you were part of that. And I guess what was one highlight or favorite moment during the Academy?
Outside of what I already mentioned, the labs, I think the speakers were incredible. And I really enjoy watching them now from the subsequent cohorts, because those kinds of abilities to gain access to some of these experts just is not very routine. And one I particularly remember is John Foley from Project Drawdown, and how he kind of was speaking to our group about how climate risk is communicated and presented and how to drive maximum impact. And he said, Martin Luther King didn't say, I have a nightmare. He said, I have a dream. And how you frame this can make a real difference in how you can influence and motivate people to join the sustainability initiative. And that was an aha moment for me. I really enjoyed.
Amazing. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for popping in today and sharing your experiences. I think you're such a great example of a person who's already in the field. And I think that's a key crux to just how nascent this field is that's exploding right now, that everyone, even from a sustainability and non-sustainability background, still have a gap in the skill sets that we can all learn together. And being such an additive community member, believing in our mission that this work cannot be competitive, where we're holding secret sauce behind a closed door, but being really open and collaborative to the fact that we need everyone to understand this, regardless of what space you're in, from clean energy all the way to engineered carbon removal, to be able to know what net zero start to end is. So Shannon, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. Amazing. So as we sort of bring this home, I've got the next steps up here, if we can add them up to the screen. Great. So that was Shannon. What an amazing person from our community. In terms of next steps, we have our final ask to you. I know that we're having maybe some technical issues on LinkedIn right now for questions, but as you're interested, please hop on to opf.degree /opf-academy, or just like www.opf.degree, and you'll be able to navigate it there. It just takes 10 minutes to complete. I would say just to apply and secure a spot as soon as possible. There is needs-based scholarships there, but they're limited, so we roll them through. But just as a final way to close this out, I think the thing that really irks me as my hot take in this field is that sustainability consulting companies and professionals should not exist if they're trying to hold back knowledge and information. If we as 1PointFive, as a sustainability consultancy, say one day that we don't want to share any of this knowledge because it's proprietary or it's part of our business strategy and growth, it really defeats the purpose of the mission of what we're here for. Clearly, warming is not reducing, it's increasing. We need to decarbonize. And even one of our informal advisors had asked, well, do you actually want to, train your competition per se, which it can be seen that way. And I'm like, no, I don't see it in that way, right? There's so much out there that needs to be filled that in fact, by becoming the go-to place to hopefully even accredit or upskill sustainability professionals and have a safe base where we can all talk from the CSO level all the way to the junior staff in sustainability, how much better would this world be so that everyone can know this baseline information that we should have known for years ago so that we can get to the real hard stuff of decarbonization. We can't spend 7 years just arguing about how GHG accounting and measurement works or how we should report and disclose. We really need to get to the real work. And I think by teaching everyone, it also helps champion leaders across the whole span of the public and private sector, even to the fact that you do not need to quit your job to do this work, which is amazing. You can champion this internally. And we've even seen corporations that have pitched for their corporate groups to come through. So if you've got also that, 5 to 7 people that are interested to join as a team whole, like do reach out to us because we do organize that as well. But it's really important for all of us to be able to champion this. And, it's an absolute pleasure to have a mission-driven organization. And, honestly, we can't wait to welcome you to our family. Great. So that's everything on our end. I think we still have some technical issue on the LinkedIn front. So perhaps what we can do is just answer a couple of questions that we think normally come up. I think one of the questions that generally comes up, and I think Denise had touched on it, was the timing of our programming and how we sort of manage cross time zones. And also we know that you all have a busy schedule. So just to re-emphasize from Denise's mention, we are working on that. So one, we can't appease everyone's time zone. We totally understand it, but we are experimenting with a lot more digitized recordings, as well as live programming to make it supplement better, especially with our Circle platform. It gives us a lot of flexibility to share in piecemeal form different readings to recordings to interactive Loom videos that give this kind of perspective to help you feel like you're physically there, even if you're not able to always be there itself. Yeah, so I'll pause there, but Denise and Julia, anything from your end that normally comes up?
One thing that I might add is, I know we touched on the Circle platform, but I think one thing that is really cool about it, it's not only where, we house our, the recordings of the sessions and all the resources that you need, but it also has all prior cohorts of the 1PointFive Academy, as well as some experts who are in our expert network. So it's a really thriving and growing community. And I think that is one really kind of underrated aspect of this, that just it's really great when you're learning in this space and you have so many others that are in a similar position to you. It really, I think, enriches the experience.
And then this has already been touched on a bit, but another question I frequently get asked is, what are the types of events, or what is the experience like a bit more after I complete the 1PointFive Academy? And again, you get continued access to our Circle platform. You'll easily integrate into our alumni experience. And oftentimes our own community members are hosting their own events, like previously mentioned. So let's say you maybe have a particular interest in sustainable finance. We are more than happy if you want to run a deep dive session with another cohort member. We host many sessions like that. And you'll get access to the speaker sessions of our upcoming cohorts as well. Yeah. And we continue to bring in speakers.
Yeah. And one question we also do get is, what's the difference between your program versus Terra.do or climate-based fellowship, for those that are familiar with those programmings? Ironically, we have partnerships with both of those orgs. The way that I describe it, so climate-based and Terra.do are generally like a general practitioner, deep dive into climate sciences, industry and sector knowledge. And so if you're still kind of lacking in that space, I would highly recommend them. They're like generalist programs to get a sense in the field of the different policies, different industries and issues out there. We are more of a specialist industry-led program, specifically for those that are interested in business and environment or corporate sustainability. So if you kind of get it, they're very complementary, not competitive. In fact, we built the content and we teach climate-based fellowship, and we encourage people to go that way. And we also have a partnership with Terra.do, where we speak to their LFA fellows, and a lot of them have moved into our field if they choose to specialize in our area. So no harm, no foul. Like if you're still kind of very, very early on and you want to do a generalist program, I couldn't highly recommend those two programs itself, but there is a difference in the sequencing. And even if you wanted to jump straight into our program because you know that this is what you want to do, we can cover enough of the basics for you to really hit the ground running. But I do want to sort of explain that kind of inherent difference. And what we're trying to also become is the sustainability professional body, like you would have with Lean Six Sigma or CPA, CFA of climate. Like that's our dream, is to become a bit more of a professional body that can support itself, as well as the work that we do on the consulting side. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think we're about at time, so we can probably start to wrap up. At least from my end, thanks everyone for joining. I hope this was illuminating, and this will be available on our website. If you did miss a bit of it, you can always go back and rewatch.
Thank you so much. And from us, we're really excited to welcome you to our family, hopefully, and our community. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're always available to answer any questions. You can tag us on any social at opf.degree, or you have our individual names here, and it's normally our first name at opf.degree if you want to reach out. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.